Well, hello there. My name is Liz.
And I am Scandal.
And we're going to review a book together. Or at least a book preview.
Oh boy, I'm so excited, and I read it. It is of Bone Gap by Laura Ruby.
So, Scandal did perform this book. If you haven't heard the performance, it would be lovely if you would go and listen to it. There's a link down at the bottom. Or it's the video prior to this one on our channel.
Ooh, so spoilers
goodness.
for what? 2 chapters?
Two chapters?
Yeah.
There was only a couple of chapters performed. So, this book was weird because I don't know if you read the text. I don't know if you've read the book, but for me, like just the preview itself was very weird because it felt like it was trying to be super edgy as far as there is magic, but it's over there and it's strange and going. Let's describe this protag boy as going. He hears things, but he doesn't really hear things. He knows things, but he doesn't really know things. Also, he's immediately aggressively self-destructive in reference to being depressed.
Honestly, the thing that I noticed first is what they start out with is the whole, he's the most McSpecial and everyone loves him and he's a little weird, but everyone in the town loves him and they love him and they love him and they love him. But actually the one they love more is the one girl who suddenly disappears at the end of it, which I thought was weird as crap. Actually, it wasn't even intriguing. It was mostly annoying.
Additionally,
of being like, we're going to talk all about this boy and then go, oh yeah, here, let's kneecap you with, here's a person you don't even get to know, don't even get to hear about, whatever else, and she's just gone. She sounds honestly like she got fridged really fast, and that was very aggressively frustrating to me.
I mean, this is one of those books where the plot arc is girl is causing a man pain by being in trouble or by being, removed from the situation, by existing.
Yeah.
That her being in danger or in trouble or, not available is hurting him.
And also the fact that she also is not only hurting him, but hurting his poor brother, who seems extremely distressed and can't decide what to do with his life and has serious freaking issues. I wasn't feeling this at all. It was also the fact that, too, so what you have is, in the preview, if you guys went and go listen to it, so again, like I said, spoilers, if you've read the book, you've got 5 brothers, where to me, growing up with my background, I immediately read as massive hillbilly incest family rip-off, sort of like, all these backwards people, and I wonder if the author's like, I'm going to throw this in your face later. If you thought this thing, but truly, and I'm like, I don't appreciate it.
So, in reference to that, when I said that our main character is self-destructive, the scene where he's walking and he sees these boys ahead of him that have bullied him, and then he actually manages to essentially dodge them being rude or cruel to him, the author digs in really hard that they have underbites, look all identical to each other, have distinctive, and matching features, and they all walk, basically bow-legged consistently, but that you have these notable family trait of, their family name underbite. It does read of an incest sort of nod, and that's kind of frustrating, but additionally, it was frustrating because the character essentially decides to be self-destructive using these boys as a tool.
Right.
So using other people to enact pain on yourself is pretty inappropriate to me. Like, I get that he's hurting himself and that's not okay anyways, but at the same time, he's like, I'm going to deliberately provoke all of you to beat the crap out of me because I feel unhappy.
Also, I have to say that I have no sympathy for this character at all. I don't know his story, I don't know his background, so I get you want to go where the action is, but I have no attachment to this weird relationship that he has about this girl with this thing where his brother's trying to, apparently in his view, wash her away. Like, she used to live in their house. Used to home her, basically, whomever this character was, because we don't even know who she is.
At all.
Like, there's nothing. It's this weird thing about all these reactions that men have to her, and men are, affected by her, because all of your characters, we've only run into 5 men, plus him, plus his brother, and then plus his neighbor across the street. That is 8 men.
We have an all-male experience except for the girl who's missing. Additionally, they go to pains in the little, the people of Bone Gap descriptor, which is like a short prologue, to say that everybody loves this boy, and they call him all kinds of affectionate names, no matter what they call him.
Boy,
Moonface, that kind of thing. Yep. But whatever they called him fondly. The author sets this up, and then immediately the first 5 people he meets do not like him, and then he describes that the town really only loves his older brother.
Yeah, pretty much. Which seems to, again, I'm like, this is... It doesn't make sense to me. I don't believe this author, nor do I like this setup. So I have to say, to me,
strange.
I didn't enjoy it. And I actually didn't enjoy it so much that I kind of got so annoyed. I actually went and flipped through some of it, and we both were kind of shocked. So I don't know what the context is for this, so we're going to spoil a little bit later of the book, but they actually eventually run into the female character, and it turns out basically what she sounds like she has is some sort of like Russian or Slovakian type of accent. Mm-hmm. She's from that part of the world.
Well, they do say she's Polish.
She's Polish.
And all of her dialogue that we ran into as we scanned through it was written in Pidgin.
Which is very... So it's a really old and tired trope that I really wish they would drop. So I've actually had a foreign exchange student live with me when I was growing up. They were from Japan. And sure, they have a type of pidgin, but it is not that sort of weird, stupid, awkward baby talk that even babies don't do.
It felt very much like the language in The King and I, the old musical version.
Oh, God, yeah, and that is
super what it felt
insensitive.
And that has been criticized really aggressively. And again, we didn't read the whole book. Maybe there's a heavier reason for her to have language like that. But going... Everyone in the town loved her. The older brother was completely and utterly in love with her. The younger brother was in love with her, but never really said anything about it.
Right.
And then her going missing is the catalyst for the entire story.
Well, and there's this weird crap about, like their mom abandoned them kind of thing and whatever. Like, there's this weird, again, undercurrent of basically adults are all bullcrap. Like, I'm tired of young adult novels really going... But adults are so stupid.
And he even treats his older brother like that a little bit, going, you won't take any action. You won't believe me in what happened. The only two adults he speaks to, his older brother and the older gentleman across the way,
right,
who does the chicken eggs,
yeah,
are both treated like they're disconnected from his trauma, from his challenge, and going... I told you what happened. I was a witness to a kidnapping of this, woman/girl. I assume woman since she was living on her own and renting, but you never know. I was going to say, and no one will believe me. They just basically think it sounds fantastical, except for the entire town is set up as softly like magical realism fantastical.
Right.
Because Bone Gap literally starts out as describing everyone knows that there are gaps you can just fall through or slip through.
Yeah, and people disappear all the time. And I'm like, why? And they go, well, we just don't believe you that this event didn't happen because we've never seen them before. And I'm like, except you've already said explicitly that things happen like that all the time. Things really do disappear. People appear and disappear all the time. So that means it could have been motivated going, well, she's just gone.
So I had a hard time connecting to the author's setup because the author specifically set up several things and then immediately seemed to subvert them. So that was what made it challenging for me. Like, it felt interesting going,
subversion.
Here's the setup. And then the subversion just was confusing rather than, no, it's different than what you expected.
Right.
Like, it just felt like it was at odds with itself. Additionally, like, you have a lot of, like, sort of implications of, like, creepy, suspenseful kind of magic being shoved in. Like, the corn could walk if there wasn't a scarecrow. The crows actually talk to you kind of thing.
Right.
But again, in a really indirect kind of way of, let's just make you feel uneasy about this book.
And I guess it's one of those things, like just going back to the thing about incompetent adults, I guess I'm, like, bothered by this because I always hated the incompetent books as a child myself. When I was little. Really, they were annoying. Like, why would you want these characters to exist? And it was also one of those things that I always felt like basically reinforces a really dangerous stereotype of, like, adults are clearly never adults. So there was actually another book that I read that isn't completely related to this, but it was the fact that the adults basically came from this very isolated small culture of children that all had a very specific sign language that they all used with each other. And sure, I know languages evolve, but it was like, suddenly the adults literally would have no idea that the kids were signing at each other and didn't even know what the crap they were doing, as if they were suddenly an entire other creature that had just evolved into be an adult rather than being an actual, like, continuation. They feel very much like non-characters, non-entities. They're just obstacles.
And I've run into that sort of thing before. And in here, they didn't make the adults incompetent in your direct way. They just made them disconnected.
Right.
And so what you've got is the experience of either your adults are essentially shanked by being... or hamstringed, if you will, by being, well, we're incompetent and therefore useless, or they're hamstringed differently of going, well, we're not connected to anything that's important or a real struggle. And you can show some dissonance between adults and children that way. We're going that kids have different priorities than the adults around them.
Right.
And sometimes your adults can't relate to you. But when no adult at all can relate to you in any way, and they're all seeming to have completely unfathomable priorities based on the most important thing in your entire life, it sets up a terrible idea about the world that once you become an adult, the only thing waiting for you is for you to become incompetent or inaccessible or not care about the proper things.
Right.
Like what so many books do, that this one just sort of sets up similar to that, with the only two adults that he approaches in the beginning being completely disconnected from his struggles.
Well,
one of them being
also
slightly
kind
crazy.
of implied for his city. Like, you really do, or they're the town of Bone Gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the fact that really they go, oh, this town cares so much about this girl who disappeared, right? Except that they seem to drop off really fast in caring about her. Like, to me, it seems almost implied that they're just as bad as those two. Those are just the most personal examples he has.
And that's
Like-
that's sort of the way, again, the author seems to immediately contradict themselves. And in some books, I find that accessible based on how the author sets it up, but it seems like the author is aware when they're setting it up in some books. This time it doesn't feel like I'm not able to connect to the author being aware of going, I've set this up for you, and maybe I'm setting up our protagonist as an unreliable narrator, but I'm not
Right.
connecting to that.
Right, but this isn't a first-person book at all. This is third-person omniscient, basically. Or mostly pseudo-omniscient.
Okay.
But it's really frustrating of just going like, what?
Anyway.
I don't know. Anyway.
So we couldn't either of us get into it. We didn't go and finish the book. So it was that was it. Other than that, the writing felt like the author had a handle on what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't any major glaring errors in that way. There wasn't real problems with the dialogue or anything like that. It was mostly just their characterizations and then their setup that I wasn't able to connect to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you want to go read it, please feel free to go read it.
Or if you've already read it and you're looking for other people's opinions, we'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, sure. And again, though, all we've got is 2 chapters, so I guess I'll have to apologize past a point. But honestly, if a book doesn't hook me super hard to begin with, there's something I feel like that this book is definitely not for me.
Right. You shouldn't have to make yourself read something.
If you don't like it. Oh my god.
Yes, that one. All right, so take care of yourselves out there.
Anyway, so this has been Scandal.
And I have been Liz, and we'll see you on YouTube.
Yeah, see you around.
Bye!